Today we will focus on modifying the suspension using 3D printed wheels, assembling tracks, preparing glasses and building the main components to cover the model with anti-slip texture. Finally we do some damage. New box and new project. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Merkava 2D from Takom. But before I start, I would like to thank my patrons for the support they have given me. If you want to join coldemonspl team, click on the link in the description or at the end of this video. Just check what you can get. I decided to build the main elements of the model. The idea was to calmly make the anti-slip surface so characteristic of Israeli tanks. Well, at the very beginning I got my hands on a small detail that somehow I couldn't leave and quickly improve it. This small step mounted at the front of the tank looks poor when it's all plastic, so I decided to replace the part with a piece of thin metal cable. A bit of precision work with a drill, and it's not worth discussing too much because probably every guy knows how to put the tip into the hole. Anyway, a little thing that was supposed to stay on the frame because I planned to do only the main components, but it already appeared on the model ready and presented on the level better than in the manufacturer's version. Okay, let's start modifying the chassis. Why did I decide to do this at all? The reason is very simple. I've got some resin wheels and I decided to do a mix. Standard with a rubber bandage, all steel and spider version, similar to those found in the T34 or T55. I know that it won't be completely correct using 3 different types of wheels comparing to the real vehicles, but here the visual effect is more important to me. And now it's necessary to lower those swing arms where the all steel wheels will be mounted. As you have already noticed, the easiest way to do this is cutting individual elements. Then remove the piece of the connector and in the result we have a movable element that will easily fit into the ground. Of course you can paste additional support in place of the cut plastic, it all depends on your needs. I repeat it often, but it's true. Everyone has their own ideas of setting and presenting the models, so here is my version only. You can use it if you want or do it according to your idea. As you can see after pasting, this solution works as intended. Quick Wheel Company offers 3D printed drive and idler wheels for Merkava tanks. I have to admit that they look really great and I'm sure about their details and size as the producer is working with IDF specialist Mr. Michael Mas. The product has been designed so that it's very easy to cut off the supports and after a little sanding we have the elements ready for assembly. Just check out how easy it is. By the way, these road wheels also come from Quick Wheel offer and if you are an IDF fan, I advise you to hurry up because as far as I know these are limited editions. As soon as I had wheels, I decided to put tracks from Modelclub. They are much better than the plastic parts from the model and I thought it would be nice and fun, but telling the truth it was neither nice nor enjoyable. I got tired of making both track sections, the more that the connecting pins didn't want to enter the correct way very often. Even my wife said that this set is weak and she knows what she's talking about because she built a few plastic and metal sets for me. Fortunately, I used my proven tool and the job was done. After 5 hours of work. In order not to forget before I close the fuselage, I need to paste the periscopes. I immediately decided to prepare them for painting so that I wouldn't have any problems later. The easiest way is to mask the glass with masking tape. You can cut the appropriate size of the tape and stick it. You can also cover them with small pieces, which would be quite burdensome at this point. I decided to cut out a piece of tape that is already glued to the glass. I did the same with the elements of the commander's hatch. You have to remember about a sharp knife to easily cut the masking tape, and I hope I didn't destroy the plastic with that sharp knife. And after a fairly quick building stage, the whole thing is ready for the main entertainment, which is anti-slip texture. And for now the model looks pretty good. And the size is very important. And speaking of size, the channel is getting bigger, more and more subscribers show up, but I'm sure many of you haven't clicked the subscription button yet. So now is a great opportunity to do it. Thank you very much. There were 3 options to choose from. The first one is VMS product, unfortunately not for Merkava but for vehicles such as Striker, so although it's undoubtedly a product worthy of attention, it isn't to use in my current project. The second is AK product, glue and sand. Haven't used it yet, but it seems simple to use. The third option is my own combination of fine sand and pigment cement. In a moment I will check what will be the best for my model. But first, to be sure, I reach for the references I have at home to check what the surface looks like in the close-ups. As you can see, the variety is huge. Whoever did it probably didn't care too much about the complete coverage of the tank's surface. Contrary to what you can see in the pictures from the book, see how the texture looks like on Mark I that stands in the museum in Lausanne. It's time for tests. I decided to do 4 attempts on a model piece which won't be used. The first is pigment cement mixed with acrylic paint. I have used this method before because thanks to the color you can see exactly where we have already covered the surface. Besides, we have better adhesion to plastic. The glue itself likes to run away from nooks and crannies, but it can also be affected by a proper degreasing of the surface. I must admit that I forgot about it. Well, pretty good. Now let's check the AK product. A bit too much glue, but more about the grain size. I think it's very similar to the sand from Modeler's World. The third attempt is again pigment cement with acrylic paint, but this time the sand is from AK. And I think the result is also good. Now we see the combination of AK glue and sand from Modeler's World. In a moment I will put a primer on to show everything in one color. My conclusions. Both have their pros and cons. When it comes to the AK product, you definitely need to apply less glue. The sand in the container is very good. When it comes to the method with Modeler's World products, pigment cement combined with paint is a great solution, but the application of sand isn't as convenient as in the case of this AK container. So which application form is the best for me? I'm going to use glue with acrylic paint and sand from AK. It's the perfect solution at this point. Okay, a lot of talking on the show is going on, so let's explain the next steps. First, I mark the surfaces that must receive the anti-slab texture. It may seem simple in some places, but during construction even the most obvious places can be confusing. Therefore, using the references, I marked all the surfaces that I will be working on. As you can see, it isn't difficult, but you have to remember to work in small pieces due to the drying time of the glue and paint. I divided large pieces into 2 or even 3 parts. The use of red paint makes the work much easier. You can see exactly where we have already been with the brush and where something needs to be improved. As far as possible unevenness in the application of sand is concerned, we will achieve it more by just applying sand than by avoiding applying glue to the surface. Simple put, let's paint the entire surface and then apply more or less sand. The drying is very quick and the sand sticks well enough. You can safely use a brush to clean the surface and even vacuum unnecessary particles. The dispenser is very practical and fulfills its task perfectly. Of course, there will be some sand outside the model, but that is inevitable. Undoubtedly less than if we were sprinkling sand as I showed in the test. If there is a need to remove sand and glue from an element, you can easily do it with a toothpick. I think it wouldn't be possible with AK glue as it's more aggressive for plastic. It's enough to gently scratch it from the element and clean the surface with a brush. And to sum up, it seems that this method is quite easy and fast. For me it took about 90 minutes to complete all the places with anti-slip texture. I think it can be done even faster, but I had a lunch break between making the hull and turret. Before I put everything back together, I had damaged the rubber bandages on the wheels, which I forgot earlier. The photos very often show this on the vehicles and it's worth to reproduce on the model because it will certainly introduce an additional element that may be of interest to the viewer. Plastic wheels are a bit harder than resin ones, so be careful not to cut yourself. Of course, it happens to me. And we have the first stage of construction behind us. I hope that it will be useful for someone to work on their own model. In the next part I will complete details and additional elements such as battering ram, electronic equipment, a bridge adapter or a metal bar. There will be a lot of it. To avoid missing it, consider subscribing to the channel and setting up notifications. For now, thank you for watching, please leave a comment and click like. This will undoubtedly help me in the development of the channel, because thanks to this my films will appear regularly in your proposals, and besides this material will be much better at algorithms, so I count on your support. See you next Monday, cheers!